All right, so after our demonstration, does this kind of make sense? That when we used the ribbon, drew the circle, it came out an ellipse, okay? Now, ellipses have a lot of vocabulary you need to know, okay? A lot of vocabulary. I'm going to go through that, and you might want to write some of it here on your paper. This is not on the quiz. All right. The big deal is an ellipse can either, I'm going to assume that the center is at the origin for a minute, okay? An ellipse can look like this. What changed here? Besides the fact that I wrote really messy. Okay. Your sheet, your recipe sheet, your pink sheet, okay, is a little bit confusing because between ellipses and hyperbolas, it's hard to tell which one got has a different definition on each. So other years, this has been big confusion for students. So this time I tried to make it a little clearer. I hand wrote next to it. What does it say next to ellipses? A is greater than B. So A is always the bigger number. Do you see that on your sheet? So if this was a 9 and this, well, let's say not, it's already squared, okay? And this was a 16, the bigger number here, A would be 4, that's A squared, and B would be 3. Do you see the difference here? This would be longer in the Y direction, so it's going to look like this. When you put a bigger number under the X, like if this was 25 and the smaller number under the Y was 4, that one would be longer 5 units out this way and 2 units up and down this way. All right. So we covered the idea of whether it goes up and down or across. What determines that? Okay. So this one has A underneath X. So it's horizontal. It's longer in the X direction. This one right here has A underneath Y. So it's going to be longer in the vertical direction. All right. H and K are still the center, and it's still called a center. Okay? Like a circle. We have now what's called a major axis and a minor axis. Any guesses on those? Yes. So the major is just the longer one. Its actual length is going to be 2A. And the minor axis is going to have a length of 2B because this is going to be B from here to here and here to here. And A is going to be out to these ends. Okay. The ends of the major axis are the vertices. Okay. Vertices are at the ends of the major axis. The co-vertices are at the ends of the minor axis. And by ends, I mean those nice ordered pairs here. So this is a co-vertice and a co-vertice, whereas this one is a vertice and a vertice. Some books just say it has 4 vertices, which is much easier, okay? This one just says it's a little lesser important. It's a co-vertice, okay? I don't really care. I don't remember. I put blanks on the quiz. It's not on this quiz at all. But I don't remember if I separated vertices from co-vertices. But, all right. The other thing you need to know is where those foci are. And the foci are out C units from the center. And this relationship is here. C squared equals A squared minus B squared. That seems weird, yes? It's not Pythagorean theorem. It's minus because if we added A squared and B squared, C would be outside of the ellipse. And if you just remember this picture all the time, you'll remember the foci are inside the ellipse, right? Okay. So we had to subtract to get them inside. Now, I'm not going to talk anymore about an example. I'm going to do this one for you. You don't need to write anything down. I just want to talk you through it conceptually without using any recipes, okay? And then we'll do one with the recipe. Can you tell me where you think the center might be on this one? Just like it was a circle, where would the center be? Do I need to make that bigger or can you see it? Does that help? Okay. So this is x minus h and this is y minus k. So the center is going to be at negative 2, 1. Does that seem okay to everybody? Okay. If I graph that, negative 2, positive 1, there's my center. Now, underneath the y is a 25. Underneath the x is a 9. Which is A? A is always the bigger one, right? So this is A squared is 25, which means A is 5, and it was under the y, so I'm going to go 5 units up and 5 units down. Does that seem okay? Conceptually? Now, that means because it was on the y, those vertices are actually at negative 2, 1 plus 5, and 1 minus 5. Does that make any sense at all? I added and subtracted 5 onto the y value because we were going up and down. So this one is negative 2, 1 plus 5. This one is negative 2, 1 minus 5. I don't care what those values are at the moment. The co-vertices go in the other direction. Go out how far? What's b? B squared is 9, so b is 3. That's in the x direction, so I'd add them onto which number here? It's going to be the co-vertices are going to be at negative 2 plus or minus 3 because they're going left, right? Negative 2 minus 3, comma 1. And this one would be negative 2 plus 3, comma 1, or 1, 1 over here. I'm pretty much done. That's pathetic picture. But the only other thing I have to find are the foci. They are always on which axis? Did I talk about that? They're always on the major axis, okay? Does that make sense, guys, when we drew our picture up here, whichever way those foci were going? If I put the foci up and down the picture, okay, they're always on the major axis. Okay, and how do we find them? Yes, a squared minus b squared equals c squared. 25 minus 9 is 16 c squared, so c is 4. So if I go 4 units up and 4 units down, I'd have negative 2, comma 1 plus or minus 4 would give me those two foci. Okay? On your notes, all of that was done except for the foci. Okay, the foci, what's the formula on your sheet? Can you find it? Be careful. You got to find the one that has a bigger number under the y, which is the one on the left or the right of your sheet. It's going up and down, so it's the one on the right. It says h comma k plus or minus c. So hk was right here, negative 2 comma 1 plus or minus, what did we decide c was? 4. So the two foci are at negative 2, 5 and negative 2, negative 3. Okay? Questions so far? Focuses. Just because it's hard to say focuses. That ends in an S. All right. This one's super easy. Tell me some things you can tell. A is 4, B is 3. Where's the center? There's the center. Be careful. The bigger number's under Y, so we have to go the 4 up and down. So it's 0, 4, 0, negative 4. Yep. The co-vertices are 3 units out this way. It's so tiny, I don't know why you have to count by 2s. We should just have regular graph paper. So negative 3, 0, and 3, 0. And you, again, you don't have to write those labels on the picture. You can just list them on the quiz. Like the foci, I'm not going to have room to put those over there, but how do you find the foci? A squared minus B squared equals C squared. Yep. So what do we get? I got square root of 7. Okay, you can't math? Okay, works for me. We got square root of 7 for C. Now, which axis is that, going up and down or across? It's on the major axis, so it's going up and down from 0, 0, which means it goes where? Square root of 7 and 0, negative square root of 7. Because it's a y. It's on the y, right? It's going up and down. All right. So square root of 7 is like 2 point something. It's just inside there a little bit. Anyway, I don't really care. All right, moving on. Can you try to start this one on your own? See what you can find. Can you find H, K, A, B, C, and use your recipes? Is your pink sheet? Yeah. Use that so you're used to where to look on there, okay? That'll help. It's going to be longer up and down or across? The bigger number A is underneath X, so it's going to go across. Yes! It has to equal 1 over here, okay? I didn't stress that before, but it's going to be really important when we go to complete the square and stuff. Yep. It's got to equal 1. All right, who can tell me one thing? A is what? 8. What else? B is 5. What else? Negative 5, and K is negative 2. Okay, so wait. The center then is what? Okay, negative 5, negative 2. There's the center. Okay, how far do I go left and right? 8. Okay, what does the formula say for those? The vertices are at H plus or minus A, K. So negative 5 plus or minus 8, comma, negative 2. You have to write those out, guys. Negative 5 plus 8 is 3, negative 2. And if you minus, it's negative 13, negative 2. So that's the major axis. Total length of the major axis, anybody? Yes. I went, yes. So I was thinking. Okay, co-vertices. Formula says H comma K plus or minus B. So we get negative 5 comma negative 2 plus or minus 5, which becomes what? Negative 5, negative 7, and negative 5, 3. Okay. Draw your football or your egg or your eyeball or, okay. All we're missing is what? We got to find C in the foci. Yes, it'll just say list the center, list the vertices, list the co-vertices. Yeah. You don't have to try to label them on the picture. You can accurately graph them, but you don't need to label them because there's not going to be room. All right, how do we find C again? Square root of a squared minus b squared, or 64 minus 25 is, ew, that's disgusting. Okay, so the foci, what's the formula supposed to be here? H plus or minus C comma K. So negative 5 plus or minus square root of 39 comma negative 2. Okay, you can leave it like that. When it's a radical, you can leave it. Okay, it is 6 point something, so you would go 6 point something this way and 6 point something this way. But you're welcome to just write it once, because it's gobbledygook either way, right? All right. I'd like to do one more of these, but I'm actually would prefer to do 4. Does anybody know why 4 is? Yeah, this one is going to have the bigger number under the Y. Okay. 45 seconds. See how much you can get done. I know. I agree. But I'm going when it's their fault, not mine. I should have fixed the graph paper. Is this the same numbers from the last one? Okay. Well, C, A, B, and C are, right? Center? Anybody get the vertices? We're gonna go 8 units up and down, right? Yep. And co-vertices are going out how far on the X? So 7, -3, and -3, -3. Did anybody have those? Look anything like that on your paper? Okay. What? Foci are C units this way. So 2 plus or minus square root of 39, comma, nope, just kidding. I totally added that to the wrong thing because it should be added to the Y. -3 plus or minus square root of 39. Is that better? Square root of 39 is 6 point something. So if I went 2, 4, 6, and a little more somewhere out there, I'll draw a big dot because I don't really know where it is. 2, 4, 6, and a little more somewhere out there. Okay, there's the foci. Feel pretty comfortable with this, especially with the recipe in hand? On the sheet for one that goes up and down, it says the foci are at H, comma, K plus or minus C. To find what? The bigger number was underneath the Y. So when you look at your sheet, it says if A is greater than B, so the one on the right has the bigger number A underneath the Y, okay? It is tricky, guys. This sheet I'm not super fond of. Do you see what they did here? But then these down here, all these formulas would change. And it just, so for these, A is the bigger number, okay? All right. I'm going to show you an example that you don't need to write down, so just watch the magic, okay? We're going to complete the square. We're going to group the x's together, and we're going to group the y's together. I didn't do anything crazy, but rearrange the order, and then I'm going to move the 36 to the other side, so it becomes a negative 36. That seem okay? Now, this is a circle that isn't a circle. It's stretched. So I have to factor out a 4 out of both of those before I put my blank in. I don't want to divide it. If I divide everything by 36 so that it says equals 1, right now, I'm going to have 1/9 x squared plus blah, blah, blah. No, because the 4 won't divide out here. Yep, good question. Okay. I'm going to take the 9 out of both of these, so it'll be y squared minus 4y, because 36 divided by 4, everybody okay? Now, this is the problem students struggle with. When I put a number in this green blank, it gets multiplied by 4. Do you see that? So when I go over here, I'm going to add 4 of those green things. When I put a number in this blank, it gets multiplied by 9. So I'm going to add 9 of those red blanks. So what I would do is I would go x plus half of this is 3. Are you following along? Squared is 9. Then 4 times 9 is 36. The 4 is still out there, by the way. Bring down this 9. Half of this is y minus 2. Squared to put it back in that blank is 4. This 9 times 4 is another 36. These are 0. I have 36. Now, what does it have to equal? Miranda said it always has to equal 1. So we have to divide everything by 36. 4 goes into 36. 9 times, 9 goes into 36. 4 times, 36 divided by 36 is 1. Now I have it in the form I wanted. Okay. We're going to try it here. Ready? Number 5. These are kind of small. Let me make this bigger. Okay. What do we want to do first? It doesn't really matter. You could change the order or leave the order. If we leave the order, I'm just going to throw in some blanks. How's that sound? But I got to factor this 6 out too. What does it become? Minus 4x plus blank. All right, first one is easy. There's nothing out in front, so half of 2 is 1. We square it to put it back in this blank and we get a 1. We put it on the other side. No problems yet? Okay, bring down the 6. Square half of minus 4 is minus 2. Squared is 4. Now, when you go to write it on the other side for your notes, guys, why don't you write 6 times 4? Yeah. So that you know where that number came from, okay? It was 6 times 4 over here, so it's 6 times 4 on this side. Now, go ahead and add it 6 times 4 is 24, 25, and 5 is 30. We don't have to graph this one, thankfully, because if I divide everything by 30, I get y plus 1 squared over 30 plus x minus 2 squared over what? That reduces to 5 because the 6 goes into the 30 equals 1. So the center, it's an ellipse. They want to know what it is in the directions and whose center is at what? 2, negative 1. Can you just tell me which way it's longer? Up and down or across? Yep, the 30 is under the y, so it is a vertical ellipse. All right. I'm going to skip this one. It turns out to be a circle because there's no stretch on either the x squared or the y squared, okay? If you need me to do one of those, I can, but I'm going to talk about number 7. What's going on number 7? There's no squared on any of the x's. What's that going to be? If it only has one thing that's squared, it's going to be a parabola. Okay, I'm going to leave the y squared plus 4y plus blank on the left and move everything else to the right. What will I have on the right? Okay. Complete the square. Divide this, I get plus 2. Square it, it becomes a 4. Put it in the blank. I get negative 4x plus 12. Is that the form of our parabolas on our pink sheet? Almost. What do we have to do over here? Take out the negative 4. So it's y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h. So it's a parabola whose vertex is where? 3, negative 2. The y is squared, so it opens sideways. And it has a negative, p is negative 1, so it actually opens left. On the homework on page 428, there are some questions that ask the orientation of the parabola. That just means, does it open up, down, left, or right? Okay? All right. Your homework on this is, yeah, you can start working on page 438, but more important for tonight, did anybody look at the green sheet yet and have questions? What can I help with? 16. Whatever we don't get through, guys, okay? If you have more questions on the green sheet, I'm here after school tonight. I'm here before school tomorrow after about 8:05 because I have a meeting. And there's the key is in the binder for the green sheet. It's not green, it's white, but it's in there. All right. This is written kind of weird, but this would be 4p x minus h equals y minus k squared. Okay? So h is 5, k is 3, and 4p is negative 1. So p is negative 1/4 or 0.25. So if I look at my sheet, this is opening which way? Sideways and left because p was negative. Yep. So then I can just follow all the recipes here. The vertex is at HK, which would be 5, 3. The focus, it says, is H plus P, which would be 5 plus negative 1/4. And I just use a decimal, 4.75. Is that okay, guys? Okay, then it's 19/4. Is that right? And it says comma K, which would be 3. And I'm supposed to have an axis of symmetry, which is y equals k. And I'm supposed to have a directrix, which is at x equals h minus p, be careful, minus a negative 5.25 or 21/4, I think, as a fraction. Real quick, conceptually, 5/3 would be over here somewhere. 1/4 of a unit inside is the focus. It's opening like this. 1/4 of a unit back this way is where the directrix is. If we wanted to find where it crossed the y-axis, we'd put in x equals 0. If I put that in there, this would be -5. The opposite would make it 5. I'd have the square root of 5 equals y minus 3. So 3 plus or minus the square root of 5 would give us 2 points on there. Anyway, what else? Yes. Okay. This is a sine 2x. Can you give your blue sheet out? Get to use both the blue and the pink sheets tomorrow? Can anybody tell me what this formula is for the sine of 2x? Good job. So we need to substitute values in here. One thing people struggled with, Riley, was they wanted to put this in and still leave the word sine. This is the sine of x. So it's going to be 2 times -2/5 times, uh-oh, I don't know the cosine. Oh, she's crazy. She's got it. But if we just do, this is pi, 3 pi over 2. You with me so far? The sine is opposite over hypotenuse. We good? Square this, we get 25. Square that, we get 4. We're looking for a leg. 25 minus 4 is 21. But be careful, it's negative because we're in that quadrant. So the cosine is what? Negative square 21 over 5. Did I lose you? Okay. So this is on top. So we have 2 times -2 is -4 times another negative will be +4 square roots of 21. 1 times 5 is 25, and we're done. There's no plus or minus. Those are only half angle formulas. They have to make a decision about that. Morgan, got another one? Any questions, Riley, before I change this? Yes. Okay, 14 is kind of long and painful, and it's not going to ask you all of these, but it could ask for any one. What quadrant are we in? 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi is quadrant 4. How do I draw a tangent of -3? Yeah. Actually, y equals -3 and x equals 1, which means mine's not to scale, but that's okay. Hypotenuse. How about 10? 1 squared plus -3 squared would be 1 plus 9 square root of 10. We okay? If the 3 was on the hypotenuse, you'd have square root of 2. Yes. All right. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to write sine is -3 over square root of 10. You can rationalize. We're going to plug this in a formula. It's not going to matter anyway, so I'm going to leave it. Cosine of x is what? 1 over root 10? Okay. So what's the formula for sine 2 theta? 2 times the sine. I'm plugging in things because I'm in a hurry. Times the cosine. Everybody okay? I got that off the blue sheet. We know where that came from. Okay. 2 times -3 times 1 is -6. Square root of 10 times square root of 10 is 10. So we get -3/5 when we reduce. That's why I didn't bother to rationalize. I knew it was going to take care of itself. Okay. Cosine of 2 theta is sine squared minus cosine squared, I think. Do I have that right, or is it the other order? Is cosine squared minus sine squared, isn't it? I have it backwards. Cosine squared minus sine squared. So the cosine was 1 over square root of 10. The sine was negative square root of 3 over square root of 10. Negative 3. I said it wrong. I wrote it right. Sorry. 1 squared is 1. Square root of 10 squared is 10. Minus. Negative 3 squared is 9. Square root of 10 is squared is 10. So I get negative 8/10, which reduces to negative 4/5 down in that very corner. Now, does anybody remember the shortcut? There's a formula on your sheet for tangent, but it's kind of ugly. Yeah, it's sine 2 theta divided by cosine 2 theta, which is negative 3 square. Oh, no, just kidding. 2 theta. Sine 2 theta was negative 3/5 divided by cosine 2 theta, which was negative 4/5. Anybody know what that's going to come out? 3/4, yes. Yes. Okay. 18 and 19. We already know H and K, yes? Okay. If I were to draw a sketch real quick, -6, -2's down here somewhere. This is negative 5.75, -2. So I'm thinking if that's the focus, that it's opening like this, because the focus is always inside the parabola. It just helps me. I got to figure out which way it's going so that I can look at my sheet, because the focus for one that opens that way is H plus P, comma K. All right, so H plus P equals negative 23/4, right? Right there. And what do I know H is already? So type negative 23 divided by 4 plus 6. P is a fourth or 0.25, I don't care which. So I think we're ready to write the equation, right? It's opening sideways, so it's y minus k equals 4p x minus h. So it's y minus k was -2, so it's plus 2. 4p would be what, guys? Just 1. You can write it there or leave it off altogether. X minus h, which will be plus 6. Remember yesterday where we had the crazy ones where they didn't tell us the vertex? Not on the quiz, okay? The ones on the green sheet know how to do. Anything on the green sheet is fair game for the quiz. Definitely should do worksheet 2 on page 428. Do tomorrow. Something else? I got 2 minutes. I can do another question or two. Which one? This is equation solving, so we factor out a tangent, don't divide. Oops, just kidding. And that'll leave tan theta minus 1. Okay, so then either the tangent is 0 or the tangent is 1. Remember, that's kind of miserable to do on the unit circle. But in order for a tangent to be 1, it's got to be, or to be 0, it's got to be y over x, so 0 over some number. So that would happen at 0 and pi, which are straight across from each other. The tangent has a period of pi. And it says all, so we got to put the plus or minus. Are you okay, Riley? I know it's a lot of steps. Okay. You could put both of them, but this really covers both of them, okay? The other place the tangent is 1 at pi over 4. It's also true at 5 pi over 4, but you could just say plus or minus pi. If you listed all 4 of them and put plus or minus, I wouldn't count it wrong because you're just repeating answers. The similar question to that, guys, both of these are solve. This one's a little funky. Do you remember what happens here? Plus or minus 2 over square root of 3 equals secant. How do you flip that over? Right? Secant, the reciprocal of secant is cosine, and then you have this, and there's 4 places that that's true between 0 and 2 pi. Pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, and 11 pi over 6. Why is it 4 places? Yeah, because it was plus or minus. This is, no, x equals those 4. Yep, because it says just 0 to 2 pi. All right, I'm here tonight still, and I'm here tomorrow morning. The key to this worksheet's in there.